Stone Age. Let's rewind the clock. No, way back. Past Rome, past the pyramids, past the dinosaurs. We're talking millions of years back, to a time when humans weren't really human yet. Enter Australopithecus about 4 million years ago. Think of them as early bipedal adventurers, walking upright on two legs, which was a big deal at the time. Imagine a curious ape wandering the African savanna, squinting at an oddly shaped rock and thinking, maybe I can hit something with this. Then comes Homo habilis, the so-called handyman. Around 2.4 million years ago, they start shaping stones into tools, not just smashing things, but cutting, scraping, and surviving a little smarter. They're basically the early DIY enthusiasts of prehistory. Homo erectus about 1.8 million years ago. These folks were the original globetrotters. They leave Africa, spread across Asia and Europe, and crucially, master fire. Fire meant warmth, cooked food, and nighttime storytelling, probably involving exaggerated mammoth encounters and cave bear near misses. And then the star of our species enters, Homo sapiens, emerging in Africa around 300,000 years ago. With bigger brains, better tools, and a flair for survival, they begin migrating everywhere, into Europe, Asia, and eventually even Australia by around 50,000 BCE, which means before the Common Era. These early humans were artists. Just visit Lascaux Cave in France. You'll see prehistoric graffiti of bison, deer, and handprints. Not selfies, but close. They also developed language. Not sonnets yet, more like danger or throw spear now. By around 20,000 years ago, they cross into the Americas, probably over the Bering Land Bridge, possibly following herds, possibly just exploring. So, from upright apes to continent-hopping artists and animal skins, humanity was ready for something bigger. Neolithic Era. Around 10,000 BCE, someone, probably tired of chasing antelope, asks the question, what if we plant this seed and wait? Boom, farming. This is the Neolithic Revolution, and it changes everything. People settle, villages grow, dogs, previously wild wolves, start hanging around, stealing scraps, and becoming best friends. Sheep and goats follow, then cows, even cats, though they pretend it was their idea. Agriculture leads to permanent homes, pottery, woven textiles, and eventually social hierarchies. This is my land becomes a phrase, so do rent, taxes, and get off my property. In Turkey, the site of Göbekli Tepe, built around 9,600 years ago, shows us massive stone circles, temples built before cities, before writing. Coordinated labor, astronomy, and spiritual ideas existed before civilization even had a name. With food surpluses, not everyone had to farm. Some people became artisans, priests, or leaders. Others just got rich. The Bronze Age. By 3000 BCE, we're in full civilizational bloom. In Mesopotamia, the Sumerians invent cuneiform, a wedge-shaped writing system. Not for poetry, mind you, but to count bushels of grain and record debts. Bureaucracy had arrived. They built city-states like Ur, Uruk, and Lagash, walled cities with temples, kings, and ziggurats. The Epic of Gilgamesh emerges, the first known epic story of a king seeking immortality. In Egypt, the Nile becomes the lifeblood of a centralized kingdom. Pharaohs build pyramids with astonishing precision. Hieroglyphs tell of gods, harvests, and afterlives involving heart-weighing and giant crocodile demons. To the east, in the Indus Valley, cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro boast sewage systems, granaries, and mysterious symbols we still haven't fully decoded. In China, the Shang dynasty uses oracle bones, heated and cracked turtle shells, to ask ancestors for guidance. Their bronze craftsmanship is elite, and their writing system lays the foundation for modern Chinese script. Trade networks link everything from Mesopotamia to the Indus Valley, spreading tin, obsidian, and ideas. Then, chaos. Around 1200 BCE, the Bronze Age collapse happens. Mycenaean Greece, Hittite Anatolia, and parts of Egypt fall into ruin. Cities burn, trade routes vanish. No one knows exactly why. Sea peoples, drought, earthquakes, invasions. Take your pick. Civilization hits reset. The Iron Age and the classical world. From the ashes rise new powers and new ideas. The Israelites record their laws and stories, the Hebrew Bible forms. The Phoenicians create a phonetic alphabet, the ancestor of Greek, Latin, and modern scripts. In Greece, the polis city-state dominates. Athens invents democracy, for landowning men, that is. They build the Parthenon, host the Olympics, and start asking big questions. Socrates questions everything, Plato builds his academy, and Aristotle invents formal logic. Meanwhile, Persia under Cyrus the Great builds an empire from India to Egypt, tolerant of cultures, efficient with roads, and organized with satraps, provincial governors. They're the world's first real bureaucratic empire. Then comes Rome. Founded, supposedly, in 753 BCE, Rome grows from a republic into a colossus. Senators debate, generals conquer, roads are built. Then Julius Caesar crosses the Rubicon. Civil war ensues. He dies, but Rome doesn't. Augustus becomes the first emperor, ushering in the Pax Romana, a 2-century-long period of relative peace. Christianity, born in a Roman province, spreads thanks to roads, letters, and martyred saints. In 313 CE, Constantine legalizes it. By the 5th century, it's dominant. Rome splits. The Western Empire falls in 476 CE. But Byzantium in the east survives, with its mosaics, emperors, and Greek-speaking bureaucracy. The Middle Ages. Western Europe fragments. Feudalism dominates. Kings grant land to lords who rule over peasants. Castles rise, knights joust, and the church becomes the most powerful institution in Europe. But it's not all darkness. Monasteries preserve ancient texts. Cathedrals like Notre Dame are built with soaring spires. Universities emerge in Paris, Bologna, and Oxford. Meanwhile, the Islamic caliphates become the world's intellectual powerhouses. From Baghdad's House of Wisdom, scholars like Al-Khwarizmi invent algebra. Avicenna writes medical encyclopedias. The Islamic world connects India, the Mediterranean, and China in a vast web of trade and knowledge. In China, the Tang and Song dynasties develop printing, gunpowder, and paper money. Cities like Kaifeng rival anything in the West. The civil service exam ensures a merit-based bureaucracy. In Africa, great empires rise. Ghana, Mali, and Songhai control gold and salt trade routes. Mansa Musa of Mali, on pilgrimage to Mecca, gives away so much gold he destabilizes economies. In the Americas, the Maya chart the stars with astonishing precision. Mississippians build mound cities like Cahokia. The Inca and Aztecs develop complex empires without wheels or iron. Then, the Black Death. Between 1347 to 1351, it wipes out up to 60% of Europe. Labor becomes scarce, wages rise, and the feudal order begins to crack. And then comes a game changer, the printing press, 1440s. Ideas start spreading like viral memes, fast and far. The early modern era. The Renaissance begins in Italy, rediscovering classical art, science, and philosophy. Da Vinci draws flying machines. Michelangelo sculpts the Pieta. Galileo builds telescopes. Humanism takes center stage. Then in 1517, a monk named Martin Luther nails 95 theses to a church door. The Reformation splinters Christianity, igniting religious wars and revolutions across Europe. Meanwhile, the Age of Exploration begins. Columbus sails west. Vasco da Gama sails around Africa. Empires form: Spain, Portugal, Britain, France. The Columbian Exchange transforms the world. Potatoes to Europe, horses to the Americas, smallpox everywhere. And tragically, the transatlantic slave trade begins. Over 12 million Africans are enslaved and transported across oceans. The modern world. Then, the spark. Archduke Franz Ferdinand assassinated in 1914. World War I erupts. Trenches, gas, tanks, and 20 million deaths. The Austro-Hungarian, Russian, Ottoman, and German empires collapse. Peace? Not really. Hitler rises. World War II begins. The Holocaust murders 6 million Jews. Atomic bombs level Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Over 75 million people die. After 1945, the Cold War pits the U.S. against the USSR. Capitalism versus communism. Korea, Vietnam, Cuba. The world watches nervously for nuclear war. Meanwhile, colonies revolt. India becomes independent. Africa follows. New nations form. Old ones change. And then the internet. By the 2000s, we're globally connected. Social media rises. Memes, revolutions, and misinformation fly faster than light. Climate change accelerates. Pandemics disrupt global systems. But we also make breakthroughs. Genome mapping, AI, space probes, renewable energy. We've gone from stone tools to smartphones in a blink. But now, our biggest challenge may not be what we can do, but what we should do. And that's human history. Speedrun edition. Smash like, subscribe, and let's hope the next era doesn't involve aliens or more TikTok trends. See you in the next one. Peace.